So the agenda for the day is something like this. We will start with Spring Boot. We will do a small REST endpoint with Spring Boot. Then we will have a brief introduction towards AWS and its components. Then using AWS and Spring Boot, we will deploy our Spring Boot application on AWS. We will also see common AWS use cases, enterprise use of Spring Boot and AWS. And finally, we will also discuss on the roadmap for advanced full stack Java developer. Okay. So this is what we are going to cover as a part of today's session. Much of the part will be practical oriented, which you will see in few minutes, correct? What all options we are going to do. Hopefully that makes sense, everyone. Okay. So yeah, please follow these few things when we are in this session. So first thing is, please keep all distractions away. Try to grab essentials. We cannot record this session because this is a master class session. So recording is not allowed. So please mind that, everyone. Okay. So about myself Vishwa. People call me Vishnath VNN. So I have around 20 years of experience in IT training and consulting. I teach various technologies, including Java, Spring Boot, as well as front-end technologies, as well as cloud, correct? So I will be covering this part of the master class, and hopefully you all will enjoy. Okay. So to start with, what is Spring Boot? So we know in the world of Java, Spring plays a very important role as one of the frameworks which is very powerful and easy to use, correct? So over last few years, especially from 2007 onwards, Spring framework has been widely adopted, and Spring Boot came as an answer to people who wanted to use different modules of Spring. So Spring framework has various modules, like for example, Spring Core, which provides AOP, which provides the basic dependency injection and so on, correct? Along with that, there are other modules like Spring AOP, Spring JDBC, Spring JPA, which people use for connecting with corresponding databases and so on. Like this, within the Spring world, there are many modules available for each use case. For example, if you want to deal with JMS, then Spring has Spring JMS. It has also Spring Kafka to support Kafka streaming. So over a period of time, Spring has created various modules, and it wanted one common place where it can store the dependency and versions of these modules. Okay. So the answer to that was Spring Boot. So Spring Boot, again, as you know, is part of Spring framework. It is an extension to Spring framework, you can say. The actual definition of Spring Boot is it's a parent project which encompasses all the Spring modules. Okay. So it is lightweight, it's modular, it is based upon a concept which is known as BOM. Okay, BOM, BOM, in which we store the dependencies at the parent level. Okay. Along with that, one more problem which Spring Boot tries to solve is it tries to introduce what we call as microservices architecture. Okay, so just a small note on microservices architecture. So before the advent of Spring Boot, what people used to do is they used to create applications in Java and deploy that applications in the form of WAR or EAR. So WAR used to stand for Web Archive, and EAR used to stand for Enterprise Archive. Okay. Now, what were these archive? These archive were deployment units. So whenever you want to deploy your application, you used to deploy WAR or EAR. and the application was quite big, correct? So if I take an example like eBay, for example, or Amazon, for example, correct? What are some of the functionalities we can see? So one functionality we can see is we have product selection, correct? Second functionality which we can think of is checkout. Third is payment. Fourth is login. Fifth is tracking. So all these things which we have, and so on, dot, 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 correct? Similarly, there are many features which are provided by that. So what used to happen before the microservices architecture came into picture, all the entire application was deployed as one small unit or one unit, not small unit, one big unit, correct? In the form of a WAR or EAR. They were known as fat applications, basically. They were known as fat applications. People also used to call it as legacy applications or fat applications, correct? Now, what is the problem with this fat application? So let's try to understand what is the problem with this fat or legacy application. So imagine now we have many features. So you will agree with me that each features will be worked by a group of developers, correct? So imagine login functionality people worked on and payment functionality also people worked on, correct? So developers worked on both these functionalities and they are going to deploy both these functionalities as a release. In a release, they are going to give both login and payment as a feature upgrade to the users, correct? So everything happened fine, testing was good, everything happened fine, sign off was given, and the application got deployed on prod, correct? Generally, deployments, as you know, happens on Saturday and Sunday. Monday morning, when everyone logs in, they see that lot of customers are facing issues in payment. Okay. So when they are saying that there is issues in payment, naturally, immediately everyone will come and in a panic mode, many people will try to do the rollback immediately, correct? Especially since it's a customer facing application, everyone will try to roll back the application, correct? So when you roll back the application, what will happen is, even though there was no problem in the login functionality, even the login feature will have to get rollback, correct? So these were the problems which were faced by legacy applications, correct? By legacy applications. So how to overcome this? Why all these problems are happening? All these problems are happening because we are bundling the entire code as a single unit, correct? So to solve this problem, now this was problem number one. There is another problem which was more serious, which is known as scaling. Okay, now scaling is one of the architectural principles which many people use, correct? Yes. So scaling. So what is scaling? So imagine I made a product. Initially there were only 100 users. Performance was fine. As my product became famous, it became 1,000 users. Then as my product became more famous, it became 1 million users. So what does this mean? This means my user base is keeping on increasing. So scaling is an architectural principle which says performance of my system should remain same even if number of users increases. Even if number of users increases, my performance of my system should remain same, correct? So how can we ensure performance? To ensure performance, one of the principles which we do is to increase the number of running program. Okay, so imagine you are creating a web application. So initially you had web application running on one machine. What you can do is you can run the same application on two machines, correct? Or you can also run multiple applications, same application on different ports on same machine, correct? So what will happen is, if one web application, as an example, can serve 100 customers, by having two web applications, we can increase it to 200 as an example, correct? Dot, dot, dot. Similarly, I can keep on scaling my application based upon my user needs. Now, what is the challenge in this? So imagine going back to our original example on eBay. Okay, so I see in eBay, these are the various functionalities: product selection, checkout, payment, login, and tracking. These are various functionalities. Now, imagine that product selection is the functionality which is used most. And let's imagine tracking is the functionality which is used least. Okay. Now, what is happening? Many people or many customers are complaining that product selection is not happening fine. It's a bit slow. So the architects got together and they decided, okay, let me improve the performance. And of course, they will do code tuning, database tuning, all the tuning are done. But eventually, they will also go for scaling up the application, correct? So when they scale up, now since the entire code is one web application, they will have to scale up the entire application, correct? Now, what is the disadvantage of scaling up the entire application is we are not scaling based upon functionality. We are scaling based upon the entire application. So in the entire application, tracking is also present. So even though tracking is not going to use that much amount of scalable resources, yet it is being scaled, correct? So it's not true scaling. So if we want to improve true scaling, then we will have to scale up particular functionality, correct? Like product selection should have more servers as compared to tracking. That is true scaling, correct? So true scaling you can achieve only if you have microservices, correct? So in microservices, what we do? In microservices, we divide a application, big application, into many smaller applications, correct? Which can communicate with each other. So if you see here, all these functionalities which we mentioned here, they will all become one function. They will become one application, correct? And in the microservices supported way, Spring Boot is an answer from the Java world, correct? So it's lightweight, modular. It has embedded servers. So since they have embedded servers, they provide an advantage of making rapid development, correct? Rapid development. They are much faster, reduce memory usage, and easy to use, correct? So Spring Boot provides two major advantages. Number one, they provide a parent project for the entire Spring. So based upon your need, you can include the dependencies. And number two, they are much easier to use and they support microservices, correct? Easily. And they can also be easily used in the Docker and Kubernetes world, correct? Yes, they support microservices architecture. Yeah, it can be used by any tools, IntelliJ, Eclipse, Spring. I am going to use IntelliJ. You're free to use anything you like. So if you see the Spring Boot platform, few minutes before I told you Spring Boot is a parent project, correct? So if you see here, Spring Boot is a parent project, and within that we have various sub modules. As you can see, the sub modules can be integration, it can be batching, it can be big data, it can be web, correct? So when I say web REST services, big data means Hadoop, Cassandra related tools, correct? Batching means job, step, writers, Spring Batch is there, which can provide batch processing, as well as integration. Integration, there are plenty of integrations, correct? Like Spring Redis is for Redis. Spring Kafka is for using with Kafka, correct? Spring ActiveMQ is used for connecting with ActiveMQ and so on. Within the data world, we have relational RDBMS and non-relational classes for NoSQL. In the Spring core, if you see, framework, security, Groovy, and Reactor are there, correct? So if you see, the Spring Boot can use any of these modules. It doesn't have to remember the individual versions of the module. So once you include Spring Boot and include this module, the version automatically comes from Spring Boot. So tomorrow, if you want to update your version, the only version you have to change is the Spring Boot version, correct? So that is the mean of parent project. Parent project means if you change the version of Spring Boot, automatically all the dependency modules will automatically get updated, correct? So that's the advantage of using Spring Boot in the Spring world. It provides a parent project on updating which everything else gets updated automatically, correct? Yes. Okay. Hopefully everyone clear with Spring Boot. Then we go towards AWS, correct? So what is AWS? Again, AWS, as you know, is a cloud provider from Amazon, correct? It is an open on-demand compute. So let me do few practicals and I will throw more light on what advantage AWS or any cloud provider gives as such, correct? It can build application using any language or tool and can integrate with any applications, correct? Existing IT environment. So if you see, it provides development, storage, database, AI, connect, analytics, messaging, security, and management. So all the pillars of software development are automatically provided by AWS, correct? For example, you require database to store data. They have a wide variety of database. Relational database service, RDS supports Aurora, it supports PostgreSQL. You can use any database, correct? Same way DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL, correct? You can use. Same way for if you want to expose a REST service, plain REST service, you can make use of API gateway, Lambda, step functions. In AI world also, you have plenty of new, what we can say, new tools which you can use as such. For analytics, for the making business analytics or deep dive analytics, Athena is provided, which is very powerful, on which you can query and get a result very fast, correct? So messaging tools, security, all these aspects are covered by AWS. Okay. So one of the biggest advantage of AWS is it supports multi locations. This is a very important factor. So imagine your data center was in Ukraine 3 years before. It was very safe, but before 3 years there was a war, correct? A war came. And when war came, you have to migrate your entire data center within a day, correct? Now, this is the advantage cloud provides. So cloud is available in various regions across continents, not only country, across continents, correct? So what will happen is, even if there is a catastrophic event at one place, your business will still be able to continue because it supports multiple regions, correct? Yes, multiple regions. So that is why many top organizations, why they make use of AWS is because of their rich availability across various continents, correct? Yes. Now, what is this availability zones? What is this region? Regions, I told you, there are actual places where the data centers are present. It's written 37 year, but it keeps on increasing every year, correct? For example, Mumbai, Amazon has opened Mumbai 2 years before. Amazon has also opened a data center in Hyderabad, I think 2 years before, and so on, correct? So they keep on increasing their footprint across various regions. Okay. Now, what is this availability zones? What is these regions? With an example, I will tell you that. So just hold on for a few minutes because then you will be able to easily understand. And as I promised, I will keep this as a more hands-on session. So we will go towards hands-on, correct? Okay. So with this much information, let's first start with our small application. So what we are going to do here is we are going to create a Spring Boot application from scratch and have it deployed on AWS. That's the part which we are going to cover. Okay. So let's start. Great. So what I will do is I will go to the Spring Initializer web page. So Spring Initializer. This is Spring Initializer. This is a place where we can go and create a Spring project, correct? I go here. Here I select, I want Java programming language. Maven is my project tool. And I can go for 3.5.5 version. You can also go for the latest version, whichever you like. And the Java version which I am going to use is 21. So the name of my application is, what name should we give? AWS Spring Boot Master, correct? Yes. We'll just change the package name. Okay. And in the dependencies, I am going to add the web dependency. We require web dependency because I am going to develop a REST service. So what example we are going to cover here is a developing a simple REST service. We will make it as a deployment unit and we will have this deployed in our AWS, correct? So let's generate that. So first let's complete the practical, then I will teach you the components of AWS, okay? Let's open this, cut. Let me come down here, let me put it in a project. So we have this master class. This code we will share with you eventually, don't worry. So extract all, come here. Then only thing is I will import this in IntelliJ. Go here, file, open, paste. Say okay. This window. No, I think it opens something else. File, open. Yes, okay. So this opens my project. So it will take 2 minutes to actually download all the dependencies. So I will go to product structure. We say 21. Okay. Also change the settings. Yeah, so I'll reload the project. Okay. Take 2 minutes to download all the dependencies, and then we will create our REST service, correct? In meantime, while it is downloading, let me show you something which I spoke about. I told you Spring Boot follows a parent project. So if you see this form.xml, here we have used the web dependency. But if you see the web dependency, there is no version. So if you see in your original form.xml, every time we put some dependency, we used to put these versions, correct? But here we don't put the version because the version actually comes from this parent. This is a concept in Maven which is known as BOM. BOM means all the dependencies versions you put at one parent version. So if you just have to change the parent version, all other dependencies will get automatically updated. I will show you that once this gets loaded. But this is what we call as parent project. This is a concept known as BOM from Maven, correct? So that's one of the major advantages of using Spring Boot. Why I am saying this is major advantages? Because if you fall into any big organizations, they will regularly ask you to update the jars based upon vulnerability. So if you follow the Spring Boot architecture properly, it will become very easy for you to migrate from one version to another. Okay. So that's one of the biggest advantages of using Spring Boot. And all the dependencies modules of all the dependency modules of the parent project will automatically be available to the child modules. Okay. So let's give it a minute till it downloads the dependency. Once it downloads, we will be able to. So I'm doing it from scratch so that you can follow with me. That's a major advantage. Otherwise, I already have ready-made applications. The intention is to actually show you how it works, correct? Let's give it a minute. It will download. So once the dependencies get downloaded, we will create a REST service and we will have it deployed. So one more thing which you will be able to see that one of the advantages, if you remember about Spring Boot, I told you it follows RAD model, Rapid Application Development Model, correct? You see, creating a structure was so straightforward using Spring Boot. So if I use Spring Initializer, I will be easily able to create the artifacts, correct? And along with that, it also gives me the main class, which we will run to start Spring Boot. All this code is auto-generated. See, in Spring Initializer, we can also add dependencies. You can see all the dependencies which are available with Spring Boot, correct? Available here. See, Spring JB, all the Spring JDBC, MyBatis framework, MariaDB, Oracle driver, NoSQL, I told you, Redis, MongoDB, Reactive, Cassandra, Couchbase, correct? Neo4j, I told you messaging, all the messaging related tools, all the tools you will get automatically from Spring World here, correct? Not only from Spring World, we will get something extra, gRPC. gRPC is something which people use for internal communication. So HTTP generally people prefer for external communication. External communication means end user facing. But if you have applications which are present within an organization, then we use gRPC, correct? So that's the way it goes. The ops, Datadog, these are all integration tools in which you can measure your performance of your system, correct? Prometheus. All these things are automatically provided. You can see cloud is also available. Spring Cloud allows you to develop native applications. Native applications means applications which can run on cloud also, which can run on non-cloud also. So you are cloud ready. Whenever your organization wants to go to cloud, you will go to cloud. If your organization doesn't want cloud, want to fall back to data center, you can fall back with the same functionality. That's what Spring Cloud Config provides, correct? So see, by using Spring Initializer, all this is possible. I'm just putting that link on the chat. Sometimes it throws errors while updating Spring Boot version if you open the same project. See, now naturally when Spring upgrades from one version to another version, there might be certain changes which it makes for auto configuration. That we will have to read and ensure that it is compatible, correct? Most of the times it will work. You just have to go and delete the downloaded jars from M2. So you know all the jars which get downloaded from Maven are placed in the M2 folder, correct? Sometimes while downloading due to network issues or something, some jars might get displayed. It might not get downloaded properly. So if you go and delete them and rerun again, it will work. Okay. So it's downloading a lot of dependencies. Let's give it another minute. See, all these dependencies automatically came from. Once the dependencies are ready, you can start with our project. So as I told you, I showed you also how this starter helps. Correct? In rapid application development. And imagine you want to explore, you can also do explore. So if you click on explore, it will show the entire project structure. So you're not going to download the zip every time. Sometimes you might want some changes. Mostly it will be in the pom.xml only, correct? So you can do that and copy the pom.xml also. Do I make sense, everyone? Hello? So these are the things which you can do. Okay, while it's still downloading, let me try and go and create a new package. So in Spring Boot, we have to respect the package structure. This is the base package, and my aim is to create a controller, correct? So controller means creating a REST service endpoint. Okay. So just to get started with, we will create a new Java class and let's call it application app controller. Okay. So here what we can do is so what is a controller? In very simple words, controller is a program which will map a URL to your function, correct? So what we do is we make use of @REST controller. So @REST controller is a annotation which is given to us by Spring Boot. Okay. So in fact, to be truthful, not only Spring Boot is given by Spring MVC. So here I mark this class as REST controller and I will create a function public string app up. Okay, and here I can say return double quotes application is up and running. Okay, and we'll go on top of it, and on top of it I will put get mapping. So we know that we have various HTTP requests: get, post, put, delete. So here I am putting get mapping. Get mapping means when I hit this URL with slash, I should be able to get this message application is up and running, correct? So let's just put something more jazzy. Master class application is up and running. Okay. Master class application is up and running. So our dependencies are also ready. So now we can go and run this. So if I run this, by default, it will start at 8080 port. Okay, so run this. So my application starts. It will run on 8080 port. So if I go and if I come here and say localhost colon 8080 slash, you will see master class application is up and running will come. Everyone able to see that? Yes. Now, what someone might say 8080 is already used in my system. I want to use some other port. That is still possible. You just expand this application.properties and here just go and say server.port. So I will say server.port, let's say 1991. So if I run this application, now instead of starting in 8080, it will start in 1991. So these properties are defined by Spring. Okay, so 1991 slash. Say it will come. Master class application is up and running. Everyone able to see that? So very simple example. Now let's extend this example to support a real world thing. Okay. So what real world can we support? So I'll go to the controller, say new Java class. Let's say employee controller. Okay. So what will this employee controller do? Let's say it is going to print some employees. Okay. So I will say @REST controller. Now I am going to create what we call as employees and their corresponding properties. So what we will do, it's a general practice to create services. Okay. Services and general practice to create models. Okay. Now, what are models? In real world, models are something like database entities. For now, we will just treat it as setter getter methods, correct? So let's say new Java class. I create an employee, and in this employee, I will create few properties like private, integer, ID, correct? And string, employee name, okay? And double salary, okay? And I will make all of this private. Okay, now what I will do is I will do two, three things. Number one, I will generate setters and getters. There are better ways of avoiding setters and getters by using Lombok, but that's something which we will see in the later sessions. I'll also generate constructor. So I will create a normal constructor also, and I will create a overridden constructor also just to help us. Again, there are better ways of avoiding constructors. Of course, everything I cannot cover in masterclass session itself. We will cover that later on by using builder. There is some tools like Lombok. Lombok as builder. We can use that tools, correct? Correspondingly. So this is my employee class. So this is my model. Now in services, generally. So in services, I am going to create two things. Number one, an interface. So I will create an employee service interface, correct? And within this interface, I will define few functions. For example, I can say uh, map of, or let's say collection of employee objects, get all employees. Okay, agreed? Alt enter, get all employees. Same way, I'm also going to create a function like Boolean add employee, correct? So it will add an employee. Okay, I'm just creating two methods, one to list all the employees and one to add an employee. In fact, we can extend this further, but for now, let me keep it only simple. And what we can do is in services, I can create one more sub package with name IMPL, implementation, correct? And within this, we will implement employee service implementation. So I can go and say employee service IMPL, okay? And we will say this implements employee service. So we know when we implement employee service, we will have to implement the corresponding methods, correct? So what I am going to do is here I am just going to create a simple map which will store the employee ID and the employee object, correct? And I will call it employee map equals new hash map. Okay. And what our intention here is, so whenever a add employee comes, we will just say employee map dot port employee dot get ID and employee object. So I'm just going to add the employee object and I will just return true. Correct. And here in case employee map dot values. Yes. Just going to return employee dot values. So this is what my implementation looks like. And on top of it, I will put service. So what is service layer? Service layer is the processing logic. So here it will add the employees and get the employees. In real world, this connects to a database. Since that example is not in the scope of masterclass, that's why I'm not using any database at this point, correct? And then we will go to employee controller. I will have this employee private final employee service injected, correct? We can inject it by using many means. I will use the constructor inheritance, which is very much preferred nowadays. We can say generate constructor employee service. Yes. So this employee service will be automatically injected by Spring. Okay, now I will create at the rate get mapping slash emp and we can say public collection of employee get all employee. Okay. And we can say return employee service dot get all. So you see your controller code should be very simple, should not be complicated. And for add-in employee, we will use post mapping, correct? Post mapping slash emp public boolean add, and here we will say at the rate request body employee. Okay, so it's taken a request body and we will return employee service dot add employee. So very simple two methods. Now someone can argue, hey, why you are creating this slash emp2? We can give at the rate at the top itself. We can give the request mapping. Yes, you are correct. As I told you, my intention is not to teach best practices right away, but just show you how these examples will work. Correct. So this is what we have. So if I run this, and I will use Postman. Of course, we can integrate it with Swagger and all. But just to keep things simple, let me just use Postman, correct? To just check whether it works or not. Okay, so our service has started. If I go to Postman, you can see my port is running local host colon 9001 slash EMP. So this is my get request. So if I send this get request, 9091, not 9001, 9091, send. So you see an empty data came. Now let's use a post request. So post localhost colon 9091 slash emp. So I will go here and I will create a JSON. Okay. And in this JSON, so what all employee fields we had? If I go and see, we had three fields: ID, employee name, and salary. So I'll come here, I will say ID, one, employee name, Rajesh, and salary, let's say 5,050 paise. Okay. So let's say send. Yeah, this got added. Similarly, let me add one more employee to, let's say Rahul, and let's make it salary 6,000. Okay, so I have added two employees. And now if I go to get and say send, I should be able to see these two employees. Everyone able to see that? Very simple crude example with me. Yes. So this is also done. So now what is my aim? My aim is to deploy this application on AWS. Okay. So first we have to generate our deployment unit, which in the case of Spring Boot, more preferably is jar. We can also make var or AR, but more preferably it's jar. So what we can do here is I will go here to Maven and I will just do build. In the life cycle, I will install. This will generate my jar. Yes, my jar got generated. So if I go and reload the project, I can see the jar, correct? Now this jar, I will put it in my Git repo. Why I am putting it in my Git repo, you'll come to know in few minutes, okay? So I will just have it added to my Spring repo. So I will go here and this is my GitHub. So here I will add the jar. So let me say code. We'll add the jar, upload jar. Go to my C drive, master class. Within that AWS Spring Boot and within that target have the jar. Yes. We will use this jar later on. For now, I'll just commit it. Oh, it could not be. Okay, so we can say commit change. So the jar is available here. Now, why we are using the jar there, you will come to know in few minutes. Okay. So now what I want to do, I want to deploy this application in AWS. So now let's learn bit about what AWS has, correct? Now imagine you are working on a real world organization, correct? Who has not yet moved to cloud. This is one of the projects which was given to you and you want to deploy this project, correct? So how will you deploy this project? Naturally, to deploy your project, you will have to request a machine, correct? Or a node or a server. So you will naturally go and request this to the hardware team. The hardware team will go and check the capacity of their data center, whether they can use existing server or whether they will have to purchase a new server, correct? So based upon that, they will have a discussion, they will decide, and based upon the cost factors and other things, they will come back to you saying that, hey, we will have to purchase new servers. That purchasing will take 2 to 3 days if you are lucky. Otherwise, it might take 7 to 10 days, correct? So after they get the hardware or machine or server, they will have to install patches as per your organization, then have it connected to your network in the data center, and then the server will be made available and given to you so that you can deploy, correct? This is the exact problem which cloud tries to address. So what cloud will do, you require resources, you will request cloud will create that resources and give it to you, correct? You should only know what resources you like or require, okay? So keeping this example same, as we require a machine on which we can deploy, which has IP addresses, which has public IP to access. Within AWS, we have something known as EC2, Elastic Compute. That's the name of EC2, Elastic Compute 2. So in Elastic Compute 2, you can have a machine or a node, whatever you want to call, available to you within minutes. Okay. So you go, you give the configuration, you decide whether you want public IP or not, then the server will be ready. And once ready, you can install all the required softwares and do the needful. Okay. Now, naturally, Elastic Compute comes in various variations. You can select low configuration if you are intended to use it for low processing job, or you can have high configurations. Naturally, based upon low configuration and high configuration, your cost will change. Correct? So what we are going to do is we are going to deploy this application in EC2. Okay, that's what we are going to do. So how can we do that? So this is my console. So once you go to AWS and log in, you will get a console like this. So in this console, I am going to go to EC2. Okay, this is my EC2. And I am going to create an instance. And in that instance, I am going to have my application deployed. This is what we are going to do. Okay. So launch instance. Now, when I launch instance, you can select what type of instance you want. whether you want Amazon Linux, Ubuntu, Windows, Red Hat, Debian, and many more flavors, correct? Keeping it in sync with real world projects, we will select Amazon Linux. Okay. Again, within Amazon Linux, you can see what all different variations of Amazon Linux flavors are available. You will see multiple flavors are available. Now, our intention is to learn how EC2 works. So, I will just keep the one which is available for free tier, correct? You can also select the architecture. Okay. And this is the instance type. Now, instance type means whether you want a powerful server or whether you want a small server with limited capabilities, correct? So if you go and see here, there are many variations like T3 micro. Micro is the smallest, followed by T3 small. Then we have large. Then we have extra large, correct? And so on. As you see, some of the features have been disabled because if someone accidentally creates a large server, huge cost implications come, correct? So based upon the processing logic, so generally it's something like this: micro, nano, then you have medium, large, extra large, 2x extra large, correct? And so on. So naturally, based upon your machine type, your cost will increase, correct? Yes. Then to connect to your machine, we are required to create a key value pair. Okay. So for example, if you go and click a create new key value pair, you'll have to give this key a name, and it will give you the PME or PPK key using which you can easily connect to your server from your local machine, correct? So for that, we use this key value pair. Now I have already created one, so I will just keep that one which I have created. I repeat again, the use of key value pair is to connect to your machine, which you are creating in AWS from local systems like Putty, correct? Okay, and yeah, we will allow HTTPS traffic, HTTP traffic. We want to allow that. And yeah, then we can go and say launch instance. So this will launch the instance. This will create my instance. Okay, my system is launched. So if I go and click on this, I will be able to see my instance. Okay. See, this is my instance. It's running. You see, within how much time? Within minutes or seconds, you can say, correct? Our entire instance is ready. So now what we can do is we can connect to that instance. So say connect to that instance, correct? So you have different ways of connecting. Of course, this we will discuss when we go into the depth of AWS in coming up sessions. For now, I am going to use EC2 connect and connect to our system. So you will see our system is ready. So what we will do now, we will run few commands, correct? So this is a Linux command. So we will have to install Java for my instance to work, correct? So I'm going to install Java. Now installing Java, you can do it in many different ways. You can do the manual approach. That's what the commands are here. I will show you that commands. So if you want to download manually, you can download like this, or you can download the instance which we have. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this command. I'm going to install. Now, if I go and see my server will not have Java. If I say Java minus version, that will not be available, correct? Because I have not installed Java. This is a plain instance machine. So what we can do here is I can install Java. So to install Java, we can use this command sudo yum install Java 21 Amazon. Okay, minus y means whatever questions it will ask, you automatically give y as the answer. So using yum, you are installing a Java version. Of course, hey, I don't like Amazon Java. I want OpenJDK. Yes, that's available. If you want OpenJDK, just go and get by using wget, correct? So you can create instances like or install instances of or install versions of your software based upon your liking. So you just do enter. It will download this. Of course, it will take a couple of minutes. Let it install. Bingo. So the installation is complete. Now what I will have to do is, of course, I will have to add the Java path, correct? Once I install this, I will have to, so that path will be available in user bin Java. So just to have it in environment variables, I will have it added in my Java. Okay, so we can do it in easy way. So we can create this t.file, or we can just run this echo command. Let's run one by one. Go back here. Let's say clear. Okay, and then we will paste it. Okay, and same way I will also go and paste the other command to add it in path. So this command actually is printing Java home in this file. Okay, same way I will go there and paste the second echo. So if I go and see this ECD profile D java.sh, and if I run it, correct, this will set my Java home. So I can say the last command you will see is source. So chmod source. Go there. I will give it permission. So I've given permission to that and run this. So once I connect this, this will actually now if I say Java minus version, you see I am able to see Java 21 installed. So what we did here was nothing. We just set the Java home and path. As a Java developer, you know, we require that, correct? So wherever we install, from there I'm just putting it to profile. So our Java is installed. Now we have to run our application. So to run our application, that's why I uploaded this jar, correct? So what I will do is I will go here. I want the raw version of the jar. So I will say raw. So it will download it in my local. And I will copy the path. Once it downloads, I will copy this. Yeah, copy this path. So once I copied this, let me download this into EC2. I will go to EC2 instance and I will say to download it, we use wget command. To wget and paste the URL which I copied. Okay, so if I press enter, it will download this jar. So my jar is downloaded on my local. Everyone able to see that? Hello? So my jar is downloaded. Now I want to run it. So I will say java minus jar and give this AWS Spring Boot.jar. Now if I want to run it as a background job, correct? I will press ampersand. Ampersand means background job. Okay, so if I press enter, this will start Spring Boot. Everyone able to see that? Hello? My Spring Boot application got started. It's working on 1991 port. So how can we test that? Since I started this as a background job, I will be able to test it from the machine, correct? So if I say wget http://localhost:9091/. See, I got this index.html, and if you go and see the contents of the index.html, it will be hello, master class is up and running. Everyone able to see that? Yes. So see, in this example, we were able to put the jar from our local system to some common location, and from there we were able to retrieve this, correct, and run this. Does it make sense, everyone? Yes. The second question will come, hey, how can I access it outside this machine? Yes, that's a good question. So one of the major power of AWS is in the security it provides, correct? So it provides the inbuilt security and also allows users to control further security. So by default, all the ports are not exposed, they are blocked. So it's up to the user to go and decide which of the port to open, correct? So if I go and see the instance which we created, we have a public IP. But if I try to use that public IP with our port, it will not work. So if I copy this IP and say colon 9091 slash, you will see it will keep on running and it will fail eventually, saying that I am not able to connect, correct, to this port. So now how to make it working? So if you run it, it will not work. So if you want to make it working, what we will have to go is, we will have to enable 9091 port on this EC2. So how does it achieve that? How does AWS achieve this? AWS achieves this with the help of security group. So if you see the security here, it will have a security group here. And if I click on this security group, each EC2 instance has a security group. In the security group, there are inbound ports and outbound ports, correct? So it will say which of the ports are reachable. I get it? So here I will go and say edit the inbound rule and I will say expose port 9091. So I am saying custom TCP allow it from 9091, allow 9091 and allow from where? You can restrict also. You can say hey, allow from only this server, allow from anywhere. So here I will go and I will say, yeah, 0.0 slash. Allow from anywhere, correct? Anywhere. You see here, anywhere IP port, correct? Here I can restrict also. You can access this public URL only from my machine. That also you can do. But for now, I am just exposing it from anywhere. And if I save this rule, the rule is applied. Now, if I go back to my this and I see our master class is up and running, you're able to see that we used HTTP protocol. That's why not secure came. In fact, you people can also try. If you try it in this URL, it will work. Yeah. Go and hit this URL. You will be able to see our application up and running. Correct? Everyone with me? Yes. We will see it's up and running. In fact, if you do post request and get request, even that will work for our, yes, everything will work. Now question comes is, hey, we had to do so many steps to get this up and working. Is there any way in which we can automate this process? Let's say that, hey, you install Java and give me right at the time of start. So answer to that question is yes, we can do that. Okay, so for now, what I will do, I will stop the server. Now I want to kill this process. So yeah, grep Java. Say grep. And say kill minus term. And what is that? 25841. So my Spring Boot is gracefully shut down. Yes. So now if you try to hit the URL, nothing will come. Once it shuts down. See, it's keeping on running circle. Bingo. So this EC2 work is also done. Okay. So now what we can do is we can delete this instance. So our work is done. So let me go back to our instances. So in the instances pages, you can see all the running instances. I will select that. In the instance state, I will say terminate. So once you terminate, it will be terminated immediately, but that instance will be visible here for an hour by default. Yes. So as you can see, this will get deleted. Now what I'm going to do is, I want to create an instance in which Java is pre-installed. I don't want to go inside and then install, correct? So can we do that? Answer to that question is yes. How can we do that? So if I launch an instance, so I keep everything same, correct? So let instance is this, micro, key value pair also I am selecting the same thing. Now if I go to advanced, in advanced you will be able to see user data. So user data is something which gets executed at the time of startup. So when the machine runs at the time of startup, it will execute this, correct? So now remember, by default, user data is Python programming language. So you will have to say that this is not Python. You have to make use of bin bash. So to do that, you will have to copy this line. So this line says you have to use bash, not Python. By default, user data is Python in nature. Okay. And then what we will do, what all steps we did to install, that same steps we will have to do here. So sudo yum install, all these things I copy as it is, correct? So you remember we installed Java 21 with all options as yes. We created this file and then put this file, correct? Everything we did. So I keep this user data, remaining things are same, and then I will launch the instance. So using user data, you can control what all you need to install and what all steps needs to be done at the time the machine gets loaded, correct? So it's running. So we can connect here again. Bingo. So if you want to see whether all of your installation was proper or not, you can go and check that in where log. This is a location file. And if you go inside this, you will be able to see a file with name cloud init output.log. So if you say less cloud init output.log, within that it will show what all it installed in user data. So if you come down, you see it's installed in Java. Everyone able to see that? Hello? Everyone with me? See, there is if you go up, it will start showing that user data is getting installed. It downloaded the entire Java transaction summary, just like what you did earlier, correct? But only thing is, it's already done in the startup. So any startup related logs, if you want to see, you can see here easily. Correct? Oops. Do Shift G to come to the doc. Okay, great. So let's do Control Q. Let's go out and let's clear the screen. Let's say Java minus, or let's say Java minus version. Okay, you see 21 is already installed. We could have also installed our jar, correct? But for now, since we did not install, let's just download it. Let's say wget, paste our jar, enter, and then we say Java minus jar AWS ampersand. In fact, this start command also we could have given it in user data, correct? So that we don't have to do this step. So right at the time when the machine is up, your application is also up and running. Do I make sense, everyone? Hello? Yes. So if I go here and check wget, now this we have not enabled it in security group, so it will not work in public IP, but at least here it should work. 1991 slash. See, index.html got saved. And if I say less index.html, it will say master class is up and running. With me, everyone? Understood the significance of user data? So it are things like this which we will be covering as a part of our course, correct? Something which will be useful, something which will allow you to debug. And this is all coming from practical experiences, correct? Yes. So this is the way we created our EC2 instance. Now I promised you that I will also tell you what is the relationship between each of the AWS related components and the corresponding data center components. So I will do that. What I will do is I'll go here and first I will delete this instance. Let me go. Actions. So the instances are ready. And at any point you want to see your user data or something, see there are. So within these instances, you can see all these details will be available. Details of your machine, what was your AME, what was your key pair, status and alarms, monitoring, how much networks came in, how much network went out, all that information it will store, right? Along with security details, which security group you are attached to, what are the inbound rules, what are the outbound rules, networking, correct? All the public IPs, storage, tags. So all these things you'll be able to see. Along with that, if you want to see user data and all, that's available here. So if you go here in actions, if you go to instance settings, here you can see edit user data. If you do, you will be able to see your user data. Everyone able to see that? So at any point, you can retrieve any information. That's why even after deleting, you see when I terminate this, correct? So I will go and say terminate. Delete instance. The Amazon keeps these servers in the terminated state, will not charge you, but it will keep it for an hour. Am I clear? So that in case you require any details, you can get it from it. Okay. So now it's been terminated. This is how this works. Okay. So now I promised you I will tell you some relationship between data center and Amazon. So let me throw a few light on that. So data center. So in data center, now imagine what is a data center. Data center is a place where you have all your servers kept together, correct? Now, what all features a data center should provide? Of course, it should have uninterrupted electricity supply. The place should be very secure, correct? It should have cooling, since the servers are very hot, correct? You will require cooling agents there. So that's the requirement of data center. Setting up data center is a costly affair. So many organizations generally give it to third party to create data centers for them because it requires a big amount of space. It requires all these facilities, correct? So now if you go and see your data center, within your data center, imagine your organization is big and they have their own data centers. So within data centers, if you go and see, there will be, as I told you, collections of nodes or machines, correct? Collections of nodes. Now, some of the nodes you want to be made available only within your organization, intranet we call, correct? And some of these machines should be available and some of these machines should be available anywhere, correct? Public. Okay. So same concept applies here. So in the case of uh, Amazon, what is equivalent to data center? We call it as virtual private network, VPN. So VPC, by virtual private center. So if you go and see here, we went to instances rule. Actually, if you go to VPC, we also able to see VPC. You see, VPC is isolated cloud resource. What is the meaning of isolated cloud resource? No, Amazon is something which is used by multiple organizations, correct? So organization number one is also using Amazon. Organization number two is also using Amazon. So how does Amazon segregate organization one from organization number two? It performs that with the help of VPC. Each VPC is like a private network, correct? They will have their own private gateways on subsets and so on. So if I go and click on this VPC, by default, a default VPC is available, correct? So this is a default VPC. It will have all the IP addresses which it can be configured with. Okay, and you can also attach IP addresses, correct? So if you want to make something public, you will have IP addresses associated with it. So generally a VPC will have IP mappings and it will have security groups. So what are these security groups? Security groups will control who all can access the things in the VPC. You're able to see that? I told you security groups are associated with VPC, correct? So what will happen because of this VPC concept, organization number one and organization number two, both of them can use Amazon and both the data will not override each other, correct? Yes. This is how they guarantee security. Now, after you do VPC and security group also controls what can access, who can access, and from where they can access, correct? So that gives them the capacity to say, hey, all the IP addresses which follow in this range, you please allow access. That's intranet access. For public, it will allow from anywhere, correct? So that's how they can restrict. Now, after restricting that, what else we require? Whenever we have some machines or nodes which needs to be public, we will attach an IP to it, public IP to it. Attaching public IP is done by using elastic IP. So within Amazon, there is a concept of elastic IP. Elastic IP are a group, or you can imagine it as a bowl in which all the IP addresses are there. You use the IP addresses and you pay as per use. Correct? So that's how it uses. That's how this works. So that's how the relationship is there. In real data center is equal to VPC. Now, one more advantage of using Amazon, I told you, is regions. You see, so many regions are supported. Everyone able to see? United States, Asia Pacific, Canada, Europe, 17 regions. More 17 regions are there, correct? Now, within each regions, there will be availability zones. So these are available. So these are regions. So if you see within United States equals, United States itself, US East 1, that's an availability zone, correct? US East 2, that is an availability zone. So you remember I told you that in the case of catastrophic event, we should be able to run it from any other place where there is no catastrophic event, correct? So that can also be done by in cloud. In cloud, you can have data centers which can span across continents, correct? So in fact, there is a module which is known as architectural planning in AWS, in which we have to think and plan how can we have end-to-end architecture to ensure this contingency plan. All that can be easily done with respect to AWS, correct? In fact, especially if you are dealing with very sensitive softwares which depend upon database and all, they provide this out of box. They provide your database to be available in multiple availability zones, correct? Yes. ADR will call availability zones. So in the case of disaster, automatically your database will shift to another availability zones, correct? So all this configuration is possible. That's what makes AWS as a preferred choice, correct? But doesn't Azure provide this? Azure also provides it. Like any organization has a liken to a particular cloud provider, correct? Which we cannot change, which will continue, correct? But these are the features which are provided by AWS. Everyone clear? Everyone with me? Yes. Hopefully everyone understood this. So we explained you what is the relationship between that also. That's also done. So now if I go to PPT, it will make more sense, correct? Well, because we have already covered all the practicals. So if you see from the current slide, why we used AWS, EC2 I talked about. Now generally we deploy in an application. So what we saw is only one flavor. Like this, there are multiple flavors. You can also make use of, we made use of EC2. Similarly, if you want very fast deployment, we can also make use of Beanstack, correct? So this IAM and KMS are the security modules, okay? We can also use Lambda, which is exposing each URL as a service, correct? And you pay as you hit that URL. Okay, so we saw this. What we implemented was the second architecture in which we made use of EC2. Again, when we use EC2, we all automatically get CloudWatch, which is the Amazon monitoring tool. We can also deal with queues. We can make use of cache, Redis cache, or database. We can also make use of AWS Lambda along with security. Correct? Hopefully that makes sense, everyone. Can we script and master zip to practice? Yeah. Okay, no problem. I will put all this code in my GitHub. You can take it from there. So my GitHub location is here, correct? So all the code will be available. Of course, give me a few minutes. I will upload it there. Make sense, everyone?
Hello, everyone.
Great.
Hello, everyone. This is Shailendra Chauhan. So I will take the few minutes, Vishwasha. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Just give
Sure.
me the right to share the things. So I hope everyone enjoyed the session. Let's say how we can build, the AWS based application with the help of the Spring Boot. So as the Vishwasha share about here, like how you can build your Java based application on AWS. So this is the way you should think about the architecture on AWS. Because right now when it is coming to, learning the Spring Boot and working with a Java based application, so industry is expecting you should know the AWS. You should know actually how to build, how to configure the various AWS services, how to do the CI/CD over there, and even how we can do the things end to end. So if you're willing to become the advanced full stack Java developer, so Spring Boot is a one technology. Second one we having the AWS, and third one we having the front end technology as well. You must know either Angular, you must know either the React over there. So I'm going to share the detail how you can become an advanced full stack Java developer. So let me present my PPT. So this is second architecture we having. So you having the option to decide between like EC2 to decide between the beanstalk and any other. So that can be another architecture over there. So the question is here, who can become the advanced full stack Java developer, and what are the responsibility as a advanced full stack Java developer you will have? So you will be responsible for building the scalable Java application using the front end technology, using Angular or React, using the backend where we having the Spring Boot, where we having the Java based code, and you should know of course the cloud as well. So cloud, the most preferable cloud with the Java is AWS. So that the expertise should be in Java, Spring Boot, JPA, SQL, React or Angular and AWS. This is expectation the company is having from advanced full stack Java developer. So in short, the combination of the Spring Boot, front end and AWS is helping you to become a advanced full stack Java developer. But only these things will not helpful, because right now we are living in the age of the AI. AI is impacting the each and every, the role we having in the market. So you should know the generative AI tools as well. You should be aware of the chat GPT. You should be aware of the GitHub Copilot. You should be aware of the cloud. We having the Gemini. We having the many generative AI tools. So how the effectively we can use such tools to improve our productivity at least 3x to 4x. So what are the tasks usually we do in a time frame of 1 week? With the help of the generative AI tools, we able to do the things in a time frame of, the 2 days and 3 days. So this is the way how the productivity the developers able to improve after working with the generative AI tools. So if you are already working as a junior Java developers, you might be working as a Java backend developers, you might be working as a software engineers, system analyst, you might be having the aspiration to work on the AWS. So there you need to make a profile for the advanced full stack Java developer. This is the way you need to prepare the things for your career over there. So what are the things you need to keep in the mind? If you're preparing yourself for the advanced full stack Java developer, so you can work in your current role, or you can look for the upcoming job role as well, where you can work as a senior Java developer, senior full stack Java developer, Java tech lead, project lead. We having the role for the Java consultant as well. So these can be the possible roles where you can fit in the industry, because industry is demanding. You should know the Spring Boot, you should know that AWS development, and you should know the front end technologies. So what are the skill set you should have? The skill set you should have the Java, SQL DB, like we having Oracle, we having the MySQL, a Spring Boot, how to build the REST API, how to use the Spring JPA for the database connectivity, and thus for the front end we having the Angular and the React. For AWS Cloud, you need to know CI/CD, you need to know. Of course, the important part is you should know how to build the end-to-end project. As today you have seen, the Viswas sir share you the way how to start your Spring Boot application, how to configure all the AWS resources, and finally how to deploy the things over there. So such development experience everyone must have. Then you able to prove yourself in any company. So if you're looking for the salary range as well, so depending upon what are the experience you having, what are the skill set you having, we having the salary range around 40 lakhs. So this is the salary range we having for the people who having the things over there. If you're looking for the example where already the companies are using the Spring Boot, the companies are already using the AWS, I'm just sharing the some of the example. So if you're looking at the most popular company, like say more popular the OTT platform, we having the Netflix. So Netflix behind the scene is using the Spring Boot based microservices. They're using AWS for the scalable deployment. Airbnb is the next company who is using the Spring Boot plus AWS. Capital One is using, Coca-Cola is using, T-Mobile is using, Expedia is using, Spotify is using. So whatever the application, what are the website you are using in your daily life, maximum are backed by the Spring Boot and the AWS. So that's why the companies which are the Fortune 500 companies, or the top tech companies in this world, they're looking for the Spring Boot Java developer with experience of AWS, with experience of the front end technologies, so that they can help them to manage their application in cloud. So this is the expectation the company is having from a advanced Java developer. Now the question is here, how you can become the advanced full stack Java developer? You can become the advanced full stack Java developer by mastering the AWS Cloud using the Spring Boot, by mastering the front end technologies in using the Angular or React. You have to focus only on one. You don't need to learn both of them. So just do focus either on Angular, just do focus either on React. You can master it. And the third one, we having the generative AI tools. As I mentioned, nowadays it's a time of the speed. It's a time of the intelligence. It's a time of the smartness. So as a developer, as a tech lead, as a project lead, how we can write the code fast, how we can do the R&D and the brainstorming about when it is coming to the architecture, when it is coming to doing something. So it can be done easily using the generative AI tools. Everyone should have that knowledge to become a advanced full stack Java developer and make you job ready as per the latest industry tech trends. So I hope the things are clear how you can become the advanced full stack Java developer. Now I will let you know about the Scholarhead training program. At Scholarhead, we having a training program where Vishwas sir will be the mentor for you. So today they have taken the the master class. Similar way, they will teach you the AWS development with Spring Boot in detail. So if you're willing to learn everything in detail, what are the project architecture I have shared with you, how to make it so that you will have the real world experience. So we having a program for that. That is going to led by the Vishwasar itself. So when it is coming the scholar head, so the scholar head level, we having the every training program into the 3 stages. So stage 1, we having learning stage. So in the learning stage, we are offering the 1 year unlimited live session for the advanced full stack Java developer. So there is no such restriction for joining the live session. Today we are taking the live master class. Similar way we having the live session over there. Today you're asking the question through the chat because we having the more than 70 people in the beginning. Right now we having more than 40 plus. So we cannot allow to speak over there. But in the real session, we having a small size of the batch where you can ask the question over the mic and you are getting the undivided attention over there. So what are the doubts are coming? What are the query you having? Immediately you're asking with the Viswasar and they are going to answer the things immediately. So it's a batch program with unlimited live session. You are going to get the quick notes as well because when it is coming the revision, we should have the notes as well. Because without the notes, we cannot do the quick recap. You will get the recording of the session because everything we cannot remember. We have to recall it through the videos. So that also we having. The second stage we having for the hands-on experience. Because the company will hire you because of experience. If you don't have the experience, they will not hire you. So the question is here how to earn that hands-on experience. So that can be earned through the hands-on labs. So we having the hands-on lab at the platform level where you will get a SRS like a problem which you have to build yourself. Of course, for building that problem, we having the solution as well. Even we having a dedicated support team also that will help you to build the solution so that you will get the hands-on experience. Because until you will not do your hands dirty, there is no experience to work on the real projects. So we are helping you to build the hands-on experience in the stage 2. We are building the project as well. So you are going to build 2 projects. One project we are building with AWS and Spring Boot, where you're going to learn end-to-end how to build your Spring Boot application, how to set up it on AWS using the various AWS services, using the S3, using the SQS, using the EC2, using the DynamoDB, how to set up the networking, everything, whatever is needed to set up in the AWS Cloud, we are going to set up. And you are going to set up yourself as well. Then we having another project for the front-end development. So if you're joining the Angular training, let's say the React one, so there also we are building the project. Because until you will not build the project in each technology in detail, starting from beginning to the architecture to the recommended design patterns implementation to the recommended the practices implementation, you're not getting any experience. So there's a second stage which will help you to earn the real world experience and will make you actually job ready. Then we having the stage 3 that is about the empowerment. Because whenever you will go for the interview, they will ask for the resume, they will ask a lot of question, how to answer those question, how to give those question answer. So we having a third stage over there where we are helping you how to draft the resume for the JD you're looking for, how to prepare your LinkedIn profile, and how to prepare the set of question so that you will crack your technical round, you will crack your manager round, you will crack your HR round. So we having a dedicated recruitment team for that purpose so that you will not face any challenge in job hunting. There's a stage 3 we have. And we having a complete 1 year hand holding support where you're joining the unlimited live session. You also will be connected on our Discord where we having a technical support. You will get access to the WhatsApp channel as well so that you can keep in touch with us. So it's not the case. We are only available only at the live session time. You also connected with us 24/7, where you can ask the queries and our support team is helping you over there. So we are going to start a new batch for this advanced full stack Java developer that is led by the Vishwashar itself. I'm sharing the batch detail with everyone so that you having the understanding. So here we having a batch. If you're coming to scholarhead.com, we having advanced full stack Java developer program, and the batch which we are going to start is mentioned over there. So we're going to start a batch from the 7th of September. It is a Saturday, Sunday batch, and timing would be here 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. So all are the working professional in this batch. So we having the working professional. That's why the batch we have decided to have in weekend. It is Saturday, Sunday batch. We are having to deal with it now. Simple. To get started with that now. So this is timing we having 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. And this is the Saturday Sunday batch, which is going to taken by the Vishwasa itself. And we will keep making the batches in the weekend. It will be in the early morning as well, which we will schedule the next month. It will be in the late evening as well. So all the session will be led by the Biswashar and other mentor, which are working already in the top tech companies, including like we having the Microsoft Capgemini, IBM, Combination and others, because we having the solution architect who actually going to train the team of the top tech companies so that they able to make the developers who can work on the real projects. Exactly same training you're going to learn over here now. So do you have any query about the training program? Anyone? If you have, you can ask.